Hello, podcast listeners. We know podcasts are a great way to catch up on a program that you may have missed on KSJE, and it's provided as a free service of this radio station. But you know, KSJE is now listener-supported, and so while you enjoy this podcast, we hope that you'll also take some time to join KSJE. Become a member today. It's quite easy to do. Just go to our website at ksje.com/support and pick the level of support that best matches your budget. Thanks again for listening. Here's your podcast. KSJE is supported by San Juan Regional Medical Center, here to meet your urgent and emergent medical needs, whether they are COVID-19 related or not. Medical emergencies happen when you least expect them. Whether it's a stroke, heart attack, illness, or injury, San Juan Regional Medical Center's caregivers are here to provide care to you and your loved ones. Find out more online at sanjuanregional.com. The 13th, 2021. Good morning, everybody. I'm Scott Michlin, and thanks for tuning in to KSJE 90.9 FM, over the air, of course, here in San Juan County, New Mexico, 103.3 FM over the air in Durango, Colorado, and streaming everywhere on Earth from our website, ksje.com. Welcome also to our viewers who are watching this visual radio program. Of course, we're streaming it live this morning to the KSJE YouTube channel, our Facebook page, and our Twitter account. We're glad that you are all with us this morning as well, everybody, because coming up, our Focus Economic Development with my guest, Arvind Trujillo, is here from Four Corners Economic Development. We'll be speaking with him in the next few moments right here on KSJE. And then, of course, next hour, Megan Cullop will join me here in Studio A. It's our COVID-19 Community Information Program. You can watch us every Thursday live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. You can hear us on the radio this afternoon at 5:06 p.m., of course, on KSJE and KSJE.com. Today, our focus is mostly on children, but we're going to give you an update, of course, on all the COVID news of the week. Dr. Preston Harrington will be joining us, local pediatrician, about the news that some COVID vaccinations will now be offered to children even younger than age 16, now 12 to 15 years old. We'll get an update from the New Mexico Department of Health's Matt Bieber, and also Natalie Spruill from the City of Farmington's Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs joining us today to talk a little bit about summer recreation opportunities for children as things are planning to open back up. So all positive news, and we're grateful for that. We'll tell you all about it coming up today live at 9 on our social media platforms, on the radio at 5:06. On the radio at 9, I should mention, of course, is Roving with the Arts, our classical music program. And this morning, Mick Hess is featuring the music of Dmitri Shostakovich. That's coming up today on Roving with the Arts on KSJE. And don't forget, of course, in addition to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, you can also connect with us on our Instagram page as well. It's a sunny morning so far outside our studios here at San Juan College, 50 degrees in Farmington at the moment. We are expecting a sunny and mild day today with a high of 82. Clear and 47 overnight. It'll be sunny tomorrow with a high of 85 degrees on Friday. How about sunshine and 84 on Saturday, 81 with sunshine on Sunday with an overnight low of 47, and then maybe some scattered showers moving into the forecast beginning early next week with temperatures back into the 70s, and we'll know more about that maybe on tomorrow's program. So that's the outlook on the weather for the next couple of days. Well, let me turn to my guest who is here with me this morning. Always great to visit with him. Arvind Trujillo is here, the CEO, of course, of Four Corners Economic Development, and good morning. Good to have you here.
Good morning, Scott. It's good to be back.
Thank you for coming back, of course. And, of course, lots going on. You have been working on strategic planning, of course, with ForSed, and that's one thing we want to talk about, and also kind of bringing in maybe some community partners, right, to help with the goals of ForSed.
That's correct, Scott. You know, we've been talking a lot about a number of different areas we've been focused on and what we're striving to achieve here in Four Corners. But the only way we're going to do that is if we have the community involved, and we've been having a number of community members greatly involved in our efforts through different types of teams that we've established. And they've been a real boost and really helping us move our efforts forward.
Very good. And do you think that folks are getting the message that, you know, the economic development is important no matter what business that you're in, that you really need to kind of be aware of the opportunities, the issues that are going on when it comes to economic development?
Yes and no. I think there are a lot of people who understand that, but a lot of people are somewhat not sure as to how they can participate.
Okay, that's fair.
Or how they could be a part of that effort.
Right. And I bet you tell them how they can.
Yeah, we
Right.
can do that. And a lot of it is also really educating our businesses in terms of some of the infrastructure type work that we're doing and having them become involved in what we're trying to achieve through the different projects and initiatives that we have on tap within Four Corners Economic Development.
Understood. And I know some of my friends in city government and county government might say that infrastructure projects aren't always very sexy to talk about with people, but they are important when we talk about roads and sewers and water lines. And I know stuff that you talk about is like broadband and some of that infrastructure that really does create more business opportunities in a lot of areas.
That's the key. We've got to be able to have things to sell to industries, to businesses, to have them come to this region. We're seeing people who are leaving a lot of the urban areas and wanting to go to more rural locations. But
yeah, what is going on in the real estate market in this community?
It's been really...
we need to get a guest on to talk a little bit about that. But it seems a little crazy to me. But I mean, I guess this is kind of maybe possibly what you're talking about. I don't know who's tracking this, but we see a lot of houses being sold.
We're seeing that right now, and we're seeing a lot of movement happening where folks in fairly large urban areas are beginning to relocate to more rural areas. And I think we're seeing the effects somewhat also of the baby boomers. A lot of them are retiring.
Right.
And a lot of
there's
them
a lot of them, a lot of baby boomers out there.
Yes, and they're looking at, where do we want to move? Do we want to stay in an urban setting, or do we want to go to a more rural setting? And given the challenges that they've had to face with COVID, I think that's driven a lot of their decision making to say, maybe we should go look at a more rural location. But when they do that, they still want the type of services, they still want the type of opportunities that they have in an urban setting. So that's what we're working on here in San Juan County, is to get ourselves in that position.
Sure, understood. I mean, as much as it's been great to live on the side of a mountain somewhere, I still want to stream my Netflix.
Yes.
And stuff like that, right?
Exactly.
And so, but it's interesting to me, all these different things happening. And of course, this year and a half now has really taught us about how important reliable, strong broadband internet connectivity is, whether you're a work from home person, whether you're a homeschooler, whether you're a parent with a kid who's going to school from home, whatever the case may be, we are seeing just how important having that high-speed internet access is not almost everywhere, whether you're rural or urban.
That's the case. And really what we're on the processes of doing right now is getting a initiative together to not only bring folks to look at how do we establish a plan, but also how do we get educated so we understand the jargon, we understand some of the philosophy that's in place, or even the aspects of a broadband plan, so that we can take a look at the county and see how do we begin to mesh with all the different communities here. We've got tribal communities, we've got non-tribal communities, we got rural areas, we got municipalities. How do we mesh all these different communities together into a manner whereby everybody has access to internet capabilities and services? And the biggest piece to this is that challenge of, how do we do so in a way that is cost effective for the consumer, so they're not paying an arm and a leg to get high speed internet to their homes? It
really is becoming more and more like a utility almost, even though it's not defined yet as a utility. But I think a lot of folks may realize that it's almost as necessary to modern life as electricity and water and all the other things that I know governments and the tribe has worked very hard and continues to work very hard to bring to people's homes,
yes,
to have available. And internet it really needs to be thought of, I think, as just one more utility that you really need for modern life, in my opinion.
And that's where we begin to look at the structure that Foresight has really moved towards. We've initiated a number of different teams, and those teams are comprised of community members. And there we have discussions. We look at the different aspects. We talk about from the viewpoint of a small business, or a viewpoint of an industry leader, or a viewpoint of a school, or a viewpoint of a government. How does this particular infrastructure or this project or this economic development initiative, how does it affect them? What do we need to be thinking about? What should we consider as we look at making change? Because we're looking at transitioning here in San Juan County. Before it's been easy in terms of we had APS, P&M come in, they built power plants, they brought in the owners, two mining companies came in. One mining company opened 3 mines at one point.
Right.
And again, we had all these things going, and then all the businesses and everything built around that industry. But
those
now
support
that's
businesses
changed.
and those
Right,
spin-off
the support
businesses and all those things you're
the
talking
retail
about.
came into
You bet.
to play. All of those things, and I was a part of that. I saw that as a little boy growing up, seeing how things changed here in San Juan County. Well, now again, we're in that transition phase, and what do we want to transition to? We're looking at retirees. They're looking for a place to live. What should we be considering? How do we begin to develop? We're looking at people who want to relocate and do what we call location neutral, meaning they want to work at home, yet be able to have contact across the country. How do we attract them? What is important to them? What would be important to a business here? How do we look at community development? How do we work with the tribes to enhance that capability? There's a number of things where we can gain value information from our local residents, our business owners. But again, we can't do that unless you come and you join us and you help us with this whole effort.
Right. And so you have put together these teams, right, that are meeting and coming together. And are they coming up with some consensus of things that they would like to see or things that they're reporting back? Or is it too early to tell just yet?
No, we're seeing some really good movement there. One, I've got a team that's focused on business retention and expansion. In fact, they were the ones that put together the full program, initiating from getting a leadership team, getting the 100 surveys done.
Right. We've talked about that on this program, haven't we?
We've talked about that before. Mm-hmm. We went through a retreat meeting, reviewing the information, or research and a retreat meeting, reviewing and then prioritizing, and we've been able to get that down to 5 projects that basically some are new, some kind of really supported what we've been doing up to this point in time. So now we're going to be in the processes of establishing task groups within each of these groups that are been established through the BRE project. And so again, that's kind of what we're looking at with when we developed a strategic plan. We first initiated and came out and say, here are 5 major areas we want to look at: partnerships, organizational development, what target industries should we be focused on, how do we look at workforce development and capacity, and how do we look at data and marketing. Well, I brought teams together to start talking about that for San Juan County. As I said, out of Team 1 came the BRE initiative.
That business retention and expansion, BRE
Exactly.
is what you're talking about, yes.
Out of the organizational piece, we were able to revamp our organization to not only be a Farmington-centered organization, but now we are a San Juan County organization.
Right.
And so they helped me put all of that together, the bylaws, changes in bylaws, looking at how we start marketing with businesses. Now we're going into a training phase because we got a lot of new tools. The website. If some of you have gone to the website, there's a number of different tools in there. You can look at economic development, demographic work,
Oh, watch our show from last month, everybody, about the website and just how many tools are available there, free. And data, if you're a data nerd, you will be in heaven going through the aforesaid website, because it really is fascinating about all the different communities and organizations that really make up the place we call home, and you've put a lot of work into it, you and your team.
And the outreach even goes to chapters.
Yes, yes.
And so again, we've got that going. Target industries, we've really worked hard to begin to look at what industries should we be targeting. We don't want to be an organization that basically throws mud against the wall and says, man, I hope that sticks.
Right.
You know, right. I don't have the resources nor the funding to do something like that.
We love Adobe dearly, but not in this context,
exactly,
is what you're saying. Yes,
exactly.
Sir.
Right. And so again, it's looking at that piece, and then how do we translate those target industries into workforce development opportunities and capacities.
Right.
And so again, we've had community members sitting down with us, looking at these issues, giving us input, letting us know this is what they think. And from there, we've been able to generate some pretty good initiatives and projects that we're working on right now.
Very good. And you mentioned earlier, Arvind Trujillo, and something I wanted to pick up on is that, you know, we've had all these major industries in the past, and it's pretty obvious that they are changing. Some may go away. We've seen businesses, companies, corporations that have been here that have moved away, and other companies have moved in and still continue with those endeavors, like the mines I'm thinking about and things along that line. But you mentioned that, you know, now the community, as a community, we have to decide kind of what we want our community to be in the future. And I guess my question to you is, you know, sometimes we do have control over some of that, but sometimes we don't, right? There are other forces at work. And so we may not always get a choice of what we want our community to be. I think there are probably communities all across this country that are dotted in places that exemplify that didn't think about what they wanted to be, and now they're not much at all. Unfortunately, when their major industries changed, dried up, went away, couldn't compete, whatever term you want to use. And I think that's an important thing for folks to think about as we come to this kind of crossroads. Where are we? Where do we want to go?
You know, we are somewhat fortunate in the fact that we have a heads up right now. We're looking at San Juan Generating Station. That may close next year. But if Farmington and Enchant Energy are successful, we'll extend the life of that. Four Corners, APS has already indicated that they are planning on leaving that plant in 2031. But again,
that's 10 years from now.
That's 10 years from now, which is not very far from here.
No.
And so we've got to begin to look at what do we want to do and what areas should we be looking at in terms of our target industries now.
Right.
Given that there's a change happening within the energy sector. And what you said is correct. You know, sometimes we can't really go in a direction we would like to go. But if we have those discussions and we understand what we're wanting to achieve, as we begin to see things happen, we have the opportunity to do a couple of things. One, we can go and modify what we want to do and move in a different direction. Or we can find leadership that will help us to say, no, this is better suited for this part of the country, and this is what we want to do. And we've been successful in very minor ways doing both of those things. And so again, we're looking at how do we really begin to determine our next course as far as economic and community development is concerned. But we can't do it without the community's input. And through these teams, we can gain your input and gain your understanding as to what you would like to see this community become.
Sure, right. And I'm sure there are folks who have said to your teams, well, let's just keep doing what we know. Let's just keep oil and gas, and let's keep extractive industries, and let's keep the mines and keep the power plants, and that's all well and good, except the writing on the wall is that that's not the future, perhaps, for for at least these companies that are here now. You mentioned APS has already said, we're not going to be in the coal business after 2031. P&M has said we're not going to be in the coal business after 2023 or 2022. And so we know that these things are happening. And I guess that's back to my point of, if we don't already have a plan and knowing where we want to go, the winds of change may blow us in a different direction.
And we've seen that across the country where, I mean, Page is struggling right now because
Page, Arizona, yes, right, because they lost their power plant.
Their power plant there, and they didn't have the luxury of saying, okay, we've got 2 or 3 years, or we got 10 years before
it was
that
quick,
happened.
wasn't it? It was a
very
quick decision, yes.
And so again, they are working to find ways to modify their economy and really try to put things on a fast track. But they're going through some challenges and they're going through some difficulties. And again, we are in a position right now that we know this is coming. We've got to then figure out what's our next steps and how do we proceed. The government, the local governments are also looking at these areas and seeing what do we want to do and how do we want to do it. You know, we're seeing a lot of benefits, and I think it's becoming more and more evident looking at the Navajo Nation, the Apache tribe, the Southern Ute, with the dollars that have been coming into those tribes. They've been spending money.
Right.
And you're not seeing the effects in the gross receipts tax that we thought we would see because of the COVID industry. And on the other hand, on the other aspects of it too, we're seeing people moving in. And as you said, Scott, we're scratching our heads looking at housing and how do we begin to cope with people moving in, and the inventories are down. And again, we're going to run into that dilemma, and we've got to figure out how we want to do this, because there's going to become a point in time maybe we're going to want to start building, but right now cost of materials are way up.
Right. Right.
So again, how do we start looking at those kind of things? And maybe there are ways that we can work with the federal government to at least help us, not as a handout, but as a helping hand, just to get ourselves restarted and get ourselves moving again here in this region.
Right. And you bring up a good point, I think, too, and credit should go to those governments that you mentioned, the counties, the cities, the tribes, who are also obvious to what's going on, I think, and willing to at least sit at the table and talk about where we go as a region and as a county, because what is the phrase? A rising tide raises all boats,
exactly.
Or something like that, right? And so I think the Navajo Nation, certainly in their partnership talking about rail and maybe some other cooperative projects, it's been a great partner.
Well, you know, it's been really good within the organization. We got all the municipalities a part of the organization. Aztec, Bloomfield, Kirtland, and Farmington are all a part of Forset. But then through the MOU that we signed that San Juan County signed with the nation, we've got the nation coming in. And we're looking at a 5-project initiative to bring new opportunities, whether it be solar opportunities, whether it be a railroad, looking at the expansion of Raytheon, looking at these things to say, how can we assist the Navajo Nation in building their economy, and also helping them to transition from the energy sector, because they've been very focused with the Page power plant.
Well, that affected the Kayenta area, did it not?
That affected the Kayenta area.
That was where the mine was.
You got Four Corners Four Corners power plant.
That's what
in this area.
Mm-hmm.
Back early on, we had the Mojave generating station, which also is now gone and reclaimed. That affected the Kayenta area. We're looking at the closures of Choya and Springerville in the near future. Again, there was one point that a mine out of the Gallup area, the Pittsburgh Midway mine,
that's right,
was supplying those power plants. That's gone now.
Right.
So the nation sees the changes happening. And so where do they go? And how do they address that? And so they're really looking at that. And we're beginning to see the power of partnerships and the power of bringing people together just to talk and to get everybody's points of view. And from that, find common ground and find areas where we can focus our energies and begin to move as one group.
Right. And I would think that you can do more together than you can do separately.
That's the name of the game there. And that's what we're finding. And again, from my own experience, I've been able to witness that. I was a part of the team that got the 550 and 491 expanded. The nation partnered with the state of New Mexico.
Right. It'd be a non-starter if you didn't have the tribe at the table, right?
Exactly.
To talk about expanding that road.
I mean, we got, again,
both roads.
In partnership with the federal government, state of New Mexico, the Southern Ute, or the Ute tribes, both of them, as well as the Navajos, we were able to get the New Mexico water rights clarified. We were able to get the Navajo-Gallup water supply project, which is being built right now.
Correct.
Approved. So again, having those partnerships really were able to bring new development into the region. And so that's what we're wanting to expand on here in San Juan County, is as we bring this type of partnership together, better understanding of what is it we want. And so when we understand what we want, we can then go after that together.
Right. And that's the Navajo Gallup Water Supply Project is just one of those infrastructure projects that we were talking about that's going to be life-changing, I think,
yes,
for many families in communities along that line who've never had reliable source of water before this project. At least that's my understanding, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
I mean,
and these families were hauling water miles and miles and miles, and now they're going to have it, ideally, down the street or even more so in their home.
And as you see the pipeline coming in, many of us have traveled between Shiprock and Gallup. Remember how the area looked at night when you drove between there back in the 70s and 80s versus how it looks now when you drive. You see all the lights in different areas. One, where they're getting electricity to their homes.
Right.
Two, people are beginning to move out into those areas and establish communities. And so again, we're looking at how do we enhance and how do we help those chapters? Because by helping those chapters, that helps Farmington, that helps Kirtland, that helps Aztec, Bloomfield, that helps all of us here in San Juan County. Because again, those people need goods, they need services. And so how do we forge that partnership so that people benefit from both ends of it? So again, looking at our strategic goal teams, our business retention and expansion teams, even our 5 project initiative teams with the Navajo Nation, that becomes very important. And as I go through, as we begin to further develop our website, we're going to be looking to the community members, the business owners, to be a part of this effort. Because again, I can't do it by myself.
Well, you're doing a lot by yourself, but I know you have a team with you too.
The government can't do it by itself.
Right. But to be clear, you're not the government. FORSED is a private entity that is supported by government agencies and entities, but FORSED is certainly separate.
Right.
On the screen, we've got your website and your phone number. If folks do want to find out what we're talking about, I would certainly encourage folks to check out the website. It is really well done. Again, as we mentioned last month when you were here, you've invested a lot of money, but you can tell, and it's worth it. And there's a lot of data, and I think a lot of useful information for a lot of folks. If you're in business or just curious about data and numbers and things that we're talking about, you can find it pretty easily on that website. And you're adding more to it every day.
We're adding more to it every day. And again, as we move through this process, we'll be initiating training sessions to help our local constituents learn how to use that website to their benefit.
Right. Yeah, because there is a lot on there, and you can dig really deep and get into the weeds, which is cool, but to understand what you're looking at is really helpful.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
And so if folks would like to maybe join a team or maybe give you some 2 cents as to what they think we should be doing, can they call and get on one of the groups that you're
they can
forming?
call us at 505-566-3702, or they can join or come onto our website. When you pop on the website, there's an automatic pop-up that comes on for our newsletter.
Right.
You can register for our newsletter. We have all that information coming down through our newsletters. And again, this is more information that is available to you. We'll be looking at different programs and different training opportunities, and this is a way that we just continue to bring information to the community. So utilizing our website or giving us a call at 505-566-3702, we'll be more than happy to work with you and talk with you on what we're doing. We can give you more detail on different areas that we're working on and see if there's some areas there that would be of interest to you.
All right. Very good. Well, Arvind, it's always great to have you here to talk about all the things that you and your teams are involved with. And it's really exciting, as I said, because again, as you said, it's important as a community to know where we want to go in the future, because there's a lot of change happening. And if we don't have a firm vision, we may not get a choice in where we're going.
That's correct.
So always appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Scott.
You're welcome. Arvind Trujillo, my guest this morning from Four Corners Economic Development here on KSJE. Did you enjoy that podcast? We hope that you did. And if you did, share it with your friends. And if you really want to keep podcasts like this coming, please support KSJE. You can do it easily online at ksje.com.